Okay, Vico Magistretti, we are paying homage to him one day later. He was born on October 6th, but as it is said in some places, better later than never. So Vico Magistretti was born on October 6th, 1920, and died on September 2006. Was an Italian industrial designer known as a furniture designer and architect, a collaborator of humanist architect Ernesto Nathan Rogers. One of Magistretti's first projects was the poetic round church in the experimental Milan neighborhood of QT8. He later designed mass-produced appliances and furniture for companies such as Casina, and won several awards, including the gold medal of the Chartered Society of Industrial Artists and Designers in 1986. Now, I don't know if I have that poetic round church that he did, that project in the experimental Milan neighborhood of QT8. I prepared this presentation 2 years ago, so let me see. But if I don't have it, I would regret. But we'll see other buildings by him. This was the man, and you see he made it to the cover page of Domus, the Domus album, in fact, #1, Vico Magistretti. He was indeed an important designer and I would say a sophisticated architect. And I hope this rather short presentation will be able to prove what I just said. Yes, the Italians, of course, had and have interesting designers and architects. He represented Milano or Milan. He was a distinguished presence in architecture and design. And the two are related, actually. You know, the many architects design furniture, maybe less there are designers of furniture or anything else that build buildings. But he was trained as an architect, and you know, thus he was able to build, but he was also able to collaborate with that very important manufacturer, very sophisticated Casina. So look what he says here: la simplicità è la cosa più difficile del mondo. The simplicity is the most difficult thing in the world. And you know, what he said is not very different from what Brâncuș said and others. You know, but there is a difference between what is simple and what is simplist. It's very noble to try to achieve simplicity, and indeed it's not easy, but simplicity should not be confounded with what is simplist. Simplistic is not, doesn't equal what is simple. And Brâncuș used to say that what is simple is a conquered complexity, or he actually said a resolved complexity. But what is simplist only mimics to resolve complexity. That's why I think it's very, very important to differentiate between what is simple and what is simplist. Anyway, he was certainly talking about simplicity in the sense of what is simple and not simplist. Now, as a designer, I usually begin with architecture, but in his case, I begin with him as a designer because the design field was very, very important for Vico Magistretti. So let's see what he did. He designed many chairs, not only chairs, but his chairs are very valued, and you know, they are comfortable, they are elegant, they can be mass produced, they have lots of qualities, and they are not even heavy. They are kind of easy, you know, easy to lift. because they use very fine materials. Look like here, it's a very fine design. It's subtle, it's sophisticated, and yet it functions very well. It's not easy to design such a chair. Miss van der Rohe even said that a chair is more difficult to design than a skyscraper, and in a way it is true, because you know, usually in a skyscraper you just extrude one floor plan, or you know, you just lift it for many floors, and that's it. But a chair is like an organism, and yes, you can make very interesting chairs that look enticing, but it doesn't mean that that chair is actually a comfortable one. Or you can make a very comfortable chair, but which aesthetically is you know, uninviting, or so. So to make a chair which is functioning very well, which is also looking you know, looking good, so to speak, is not easy. But it is a challenge, and I suggest to people, and even to myself, try to design a chair. You know, you take a pencil and a piece of paper, or you know, you do it digitally. Try to design a chair. It's a very good exercise, and is even therapeutic. You know, it calms you down. In a way, a chair is an intimate reflection of your true self, and it is. Maybe that's why, I mean, maybe that is one of the reasons why Vincent van Gogh painted the chairs, or at least his famous chair. A chair is in a way like a self-portrait of the one who either paints it or who makes it as a designer, or you know, its author. Try to make a chair. You'll see that it's a very rewarding experience, and you'll realize that it's a very interesting activity to design a chair. Well, Magistrati didn't design only chairs. You see here a shelving system, you know, which is rather, you know, original or intriguing. So what is good also about design is that, you know, you don't actually need a client necessarily, and you don't need an office. You can do it alone. Let's say a lonely architect somewhere, you know, you take a pencil, you take some paper, and you begin to design a piece of furniture. It doesn't have to be necessarily a chair. You can do it without investments, without you know, clients and so on. And if it comes out well, then of course you could look for a manufacturer. Sometimes you could even build it yourself if it's not a very demanding job, and you know, with some materials you can build some pieces of furniture very well, you know, by yourself. Well, he designed things that were mass produced, and as I said, with a high level times of sophistication. You know, this was already a commercial enterprise. It's a rewarding activity, and I mean, I don't like to mention this aspect, but even financially, you know, if you make a piece of, let's say, a lamp that is very, you know, seductive and functions well and so on, and is mass produced, of course, the chance of you earning, you know, a little bit of money is not small. Anyway, designers usually are doing well, but of course, there are many designers. So those who so-called make it are not so many, but again, it's about excellence. If you can design convincingly something, anything, you can you know, you can probably mass produce it and sell it. But there is a difference between design, what we call design, or design, industrial design, or object design, and architecture. It is a difference. That's why sometimes, you know, good designers are not so good architects. And I don't know about the other way, where a good architect is not a very good designer. Maybe that might be true as well. I don't know. I didn't think about it. But Usually, an architect could design objects, yes. This is a magnificent chair, you know, it's look at its simplicity and its elegance, and it has, I don't know what kind of wood he used for the frame. Maybe it was thick, you know, very strong and lightweight wood. It is elegant, you know, and well, it's also probably very expensive, but it shows again sophistication. It's essentially is about beauty, but not only beauty, but also functionality. It has to function. Although there are chairs made by you know, some architects or designers which are not necessarily comfortable. Some are even anti-comfort, or they are theatrical pieces. There are such chairs. Well, 2 days ago, I talked about Dan Coma. He also designed chairs, but they were more like you know, one of a kind piece. Magistrati did pieces which, you know, could have been and were produced, you know, mass produced, maybe not in large numbers because these were expensive pieces of furniture, but you know, they were made for you know, the large audience, so to speak. The advantage here is that you, as a lone architect, you can very well begin to investigate the field of furniture or other objects that can be designed, and you can express yourself to a very satisfying level through them. You don't need, at the beginning at least, you don't need clients. You just need ideas and the pleasure of inventing, of creating. You can create a table, you can create a chair, you can create a lamp. And for that, you just need as I said, a pencil and a piece of paper, or if you want to work digitally, you know, a computer or a laptop. That's it. But it is an interesting activity, you know, how to make it, you know, interesting, you know, maybe unseen before, and also functioning. You make a portfolio with a few pieces that you designed, and then you search for a manufacturer, and you can search for a manufacturer, you know, in the place where you are in, or you could search online. You can even search for manufacturers outside of the country you are in. It's possible. You make a portfolio with designs that you generate. I myself once invented, so to speak, a chair with multiple coverings. I was then in the United States, and I was even helped by a Japanese designer. We had to apply for a patent. I wanted to apply for a patent, and I did apply, and they accepted the application in Washington, but they asked us, apparently there was a need for a lawyer and all the rest, and I gave up because I don't like bureaucracy, and I don't like lawyers, and I gave up. And unfortunately, I even lost that portfolio that we had to draw on a certain paper, Bristol paper, with a certain ink, or everything was prescribed for the application for the patent. It's not easy actually to, you know, get a patent. It's a legal process of quite, you know, of complexity, and anyway. But maybe, you know, to make a chair, or what kind of a seating you want to propose to the market or to the manufacturers, it shouldn't be so difficult actually, and you might not even need a patent for something like this. In my case, it was about more like a it was more complex because it was not about an object. It was about a process, a strategy, which would have generated many kinds of objects, and for that I would have liked to get a patent. And I could have perhaps if I had a lawyer and the resources to pay a lawyer, which is not an easy thing to do, because lawyers have different standards, than architects. They need to be paid, upfront and heavily. Anyway, chairs. Back to the chairs of Vico Magistretti, and he did all kinds, not just individual chairs, sofas and so on. Here is a lamp. But it is refreshing, to look at this Italian design, which even, I mean, he made these things probably almost 50 years ago, half a century ago, and still there is a level of freshness about them. And, I wouldn't mind having such a lamp right now in my house, or such a chair. I don't know if it's the most comfortable chair in the world, but we have to acknowledge its elegance, kind of a little bit derived perhaps from Charles Mackintosh, but transformed. It is very elegant, but I don't know if very comfortable. Some kind of a mundane ceremonial chair or thrones, because there is a level of mundanity here. Anyway. And the design does say something about the author, about the designer. It's almost a personal it is an intimate representation of one's aesthetics, and maybe more than just aesthetics. I have a presentation, and I did make a presentation, I think last year, about Hans Wegner, the king of chairs, a Danish chair designer, who dedicated his life to just chairs. Again, this chair, which I think is a masterpiece of Vico Magistretti. And I'm sure I never had a chance to experience it, but I think it's very lightweight. You probably can lift it even with one finger. And yet it's solid, it's strong, and yet elegant. It's not easy to do something like this. I like this also, these sitting objects, they are more than chairs. I like their informality, that there is the structure underneath, and then there is the fabric that covers it in almost like a rug, in a rather informal way. I think they are both elegant and lyrical. No, he was a very good designer, Magistretti. The only problem is, I imagine the prices for these pieces are very high. I know Cassina works with, it's a high-end production line, and the prices are very, very high. This one seems to use, thin leather, and I imagine something like this costs thousands of euros or dollars easily. Now, architecture by Vico Magistretti. I wish I had the first project he did around church. Building in Corso Europa, 22nd, 22 in Milan from 1955 to 1957. It's an elegant building. Is of course this one here. And searching for images with his work, I came across many images of this building. So I think in his oeuvre, this building is positioned high. Why would make this building? What is special about this building? Look at very subtle things. For example, here you see this doesn't have the same width, and there is a slight, this angle here is less than 180 degrees because this line is not perfectly aligned to the rest. Small things like this which count, at the first sight you don't notice them, but if you look at them more carefully, you begin to see slight, very subtle deviations from otherwise maybe rigid system, which, I mean, these things count. Like, look at these windows. This narrow vertical band of windows is here, 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 and here, and here the same. But here is the opposite. This one is closer to the edge on the left side, not on the right. So again, if he would have liked to use rigidly a system, he would have repeated here the same situation like here, but he didn't. Also at the top, so there are slight variations which create a certain degree of freedom and unexpectedness, and this counts. Also, a more banal architect would have used probably the same kind of window, without thinking of, I mean, it is interesting in a way what he did, because most architects would have used just, a horizontal row of windows without thinking of breaking that system with the verticality of the smaller, narrower windows. So there is complexity and simplicity here, which I like. And you saw from his chairs that, those chairs appear to be very simple, but they were in a way simple, but not simplistic. This is an older picture, of course, maybe from the 50s, although the cars seem to be newer. Anyway, it doesn't matter. An interesting building by Magistretti. And here is the plan and the section. Many stairs. I don't know very well what's going on there. Is it an office building? Is it with apartments, or I don't know, but I guess small apartments from what I see here, and maybe some studios. No, this is a large apartment with many rooms, it seems. Now a villa from 1958 in Arenzano. His architecture is not, flamboyant. It's not. You can pass by a building by Magistretti and maybe without knowing who made it and not even stop, because there is a certain level of reticence. But if you know and you stop and you study a little bit, you discover subtle things that would make one think that indeed there was an architect here. And you can do such things with small, small elements or small changes, or it doesn't have to be something dramatic. With small things, you can create an architecture just like as you can create a chair that is, has meaning and has beauty, and it's possible. And I really don't think you need necessarily a big budget to do something like this. You just need to be very open and creative, and it's possible. This kind of house, a villa, can be done anywhere. It can be done in our country, it can be done anywhere without incredible budgets or whatever. It can be done. I mean, to me, an event is even this vertical window, narrow and vertical and with oblongs. I would advocate the use of oblongs, in architecture. I think they are very useful, for, defending yourself against the noise of the street or against, maybe excessive sunlight or whatever. And they even, they warm up somehow a facade. I like buildings that have oblongs. Casabella. They published his work because he was one of the most important designers and architects in Italy at that time. Sorry about the resolution of this picture. Casa Arosio in Arenzano, 1959. Now, a building in Via Leopardi in Milan. Here he worked with this person, Guido Veneziani, in 1961. So, 60 years ago is this one. Very elegant itself. Indeed, Italian design. I like more the elevation towards the street. Very fine, very refined design. The courtyard, treated differently, but still, I hope I have the plan here. I like vertical windows, whatever Monsieur Le Corbusier might say. It seems he himself, in his later years, accepted the outrageous vertical window. This is more than a window, because you can open and it's almost like a door. It's not really a balcony, but anyway, there are suggestions here towards architectural entities that a good part of what we call orthodox modernism rejected, unfortunately. Even the shutters are interesting, where this is an older building that has them, but there are interesting things that we can explore with to exit the banality of most, uncreative windows. I don't know where this view is from because it's not towards the street, but this is another street. Maybe it's a larger complex of buildings. You can see it's kind of the same architecture here particularly. Anyway, it looks almost like a school or some kind of institutional building. I don't know very well what to say about these bricks here, where it's almost as if these bricks are just applied as some kind of a second skin, and they're almost ornamental. And I don't know, maybe they are supported here by some kind of a steel element, but I don't know. That's not what we expect for brick, actually. Or maybe looking more carefully, it's something a little bit peculiar here because you don't see the thickness of the slab that supports the brick parapets. And yeah, maybe this sophistication could be acceptable if you accept poetical licenses in the field of design, I guess. Yeah, it's a large complex of buildings here. Quite. Maybe it's the same institution, but there are various. Initially, I thought there was something different. Anyway, moving forward, a sketch, a sketch which is, very, in a way temperamental and, yeah, very much the sketch of an architect. The Karimatek Golf Club, where he worked again with this architect, Gino Veneziani. Well, golf clubs are doing well in general. It's an expensive sport. Brancusi himself practiced it in his later years when he actually stopped doing sculpture. Um, yeah, golf clubs have money, and it seems here too. Sorry about the resolution of this picture. A lounge chair for the same club. They're nice, a little bit rustic, but maybe for that particular function was okay, I guess. Also, seems to be a little low, but who knows? Compared to the width of the chair, it appears to be a little bit low. But I'm sure he knew what he was doing. A tower house in Piazzale Aquileia in Milan, 1964, 1965. Um, Interesting what he did here, with the balconies in the corner, but also with the window here that is different from the other places. Again, some differentiation, breaking the system. The plan is interesting too. I hope I have other pictures a bit with it. We know very well that many architects try to kind of get rid of the corner, to free the room or the space through the corner. Frank Lloyd Wright tried it, and other architects. This is what Magistrati did, and in two ways. One is through this window, but then also through the balcony that is, emphasizing in a way this outgoing of the interior towards the exterior. In the same attempt to unite the interior with the exterior, to break the box in a way. Apartments. Also, it's interesting what he did here. And it is an idea, you can design a block of flats with approximately regular, floors, but you can also break, as I said before, breaking the system. Introduce an accident, something, a balcony or something, you distort, you bring some distortion at one moment within the building, and these accidents matter because they in a way they say the same thing that life says. You can't have just regularity, and you also have to have accidents, differences, and with more or less simple means you can personalize and otherwise maybe almost standard work and make it interesting, individualize it. I mean, he could have made all the building like this, but he didn't. You see, there are differences, and something like this exacerbates in a way this quest for differentiation, for personalization. Otherwise, the building in general, looking superficially at it, seems to be, rather, common. Now, Torre al Parco, this is a tall tower, also an apartments building. And these are large apartments, like this one has 3 bathrooms, 1, 2, 3, and quite a number of bedrooms. The interest is actually here. So how many apartments are here? Two apartments per floor, which is a luxurious situation. 3 elevators, this is not really for everybody, but I'm sure there were people to purchase apartments here in Milan. Here it is. Tall indeed. In fact, they didn't have room enough in the picture. I hope I have a pictures with the whole of it. Vico Magistrati. Even this building, it appears at a superficial first reading as having identical floors. But you see, there are differences. Like this situation here is different from here, and yes, there are differences, and these differences are important, I think, because they bring in that variety and unity that is important for a good work. He does it again here. Look, you might say it's idiosyncratic, but it's interesting, and it's so possible to do it really if you do a block of flats and you just introduce a playful accident, so to speak, somewhere and create an event, an architectural event, which is simple to do, literally. He did it. And this so-called detail, you wouldn't expect it when you look at this building. You wouldn't expect to see something like this somewhere. But why not? Again, it's the accident which enlivens the whole system by breaking it in a way. A house for a nephew. Now I don't know. I mean, because the name was Magistretti. I think it was in near Lausanne in Switzerland. Vico Magistretti's last inspired take on home living. This is the house for a nephew, and that's how it was called. That's how I found it on the web. A house for a nephew. maybe I don't know. Maybe the nephew was himself. I don't know. Anyway, I hope I have better resolution pictures. So this was not any longer in Italy, but in Switzerland. You probably hear a noise. It's a helicopter that is, circling around the building I live in. Yeah, I'm afraid all these pictures are like this. I wish they were larger with better resolution, but what can I do? That's how I found them. And these are, if you have good eyes, the plans of the house for a nephew by Vico Magistretti, near Lausanne. This one is almost, so-called classical or classicist. The language, the architectural language is very, balanced and measured, and there is something so-called classical about this otherwise modern house. Maybe also because of the centrality of the roofing, and you do have the square in plan here. Maybe here as well. It is a classical configuration somehow. It is a modern house, but with something so-called classical about it. Interesting work in a way. Okay, I think that's it. So for yesterday, let's wish Mr. Magistretti happy birthday.